And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today we're taking a look at a brand new game from Queen called Lost Legends. Now, I have been really pumped about Lost Legends because it's designed by a designer I really like, Mike Elliott, and it has one of my favorite mechanics in it, drafting. Drafting is a really cool thing in games. I mean, people used to do drafting for Magic the Gathering, and then it hit a few games. We've seen it in Fairy Tale, Seven Wonders, Among the Stars, Sushi Go, but really, I think it's an underused mechanic, and I think it's cool, where you have a handful of cards, you take one, or tiles or whatever, and you pass them to the next person, they take one, etc. That's a neat idea. Mixing it with a dungeon-type theme I think is pretty cool. This is a theme that I like more so than not, so I thought this hopefully will be a win-win. The artwork for this game is phenomenal. Some of the best artwork I've ever seen in a game, so that's not a problem, but is the gameplay good? Testing. Each player starts with a board that shows their character, and you can see there's different characters that you take, and these characters are mostly different. I mean, they're mostly the same, but they have some different things. What you do is you put this little marker here, this is a mana track, and that's your maximum mana. Then you put a blue cube on top of it, which is your actual mana. So as your mana goes down, and your maximum might go up, and your actual mana might go up, but it can never go up past your maximum. And you have the same thing down here with hit points, and then you have this marker here to track your victory points. You also keep track of your gold here. You can see that she starts with 6 gold that she's going to have over the course of a game. Whenever your experience points pass these spots on the board, you can increase your max mana or hit points by 1, or you can take 2 gold. Also, if you get your experience points into these sections here, you will get victory points. It shows the victory points here. Now, the game takes place over 3 rounds. You're going into 3 different dungeons, and in each dungeon, you're going to first do a drafting phase, and then you're going to fight monsters. Now, you will see the monster. There'll be one monster placed in front of you, and we'll talk a little bit more about monsters, but let's talk about the drafting phase first. What will happen is you're going to get a handful of cards, and these cards will be different each time, obviously. In each round of the game, there's different cards. So these are for the first round, these are for the second, and these are for the third. You can tell it gets kind of nasty by the card backings on the third round. You will take out cards per number of players. You can go up to 5 players, and then you'll shuffle them out so each player has 6 cards. Drafting is pretty simple. Each turn, you will take a card from your hand, you will play that card, and then you'll pass the other 5 cards to the person on your left. The 5 cards that you get, you'll take one of those, and you'll keep going until you're down to 2 cards. When you have those 2 cards, you will play one and discard the other. And then each player will have 5 cards. When you take a card, each card here, and let's see if we can look at this. Here's a card. Each card has a cost up at the top. This one costs 2 gold. However, there's a discount on the cost if you have that symbol. Now, if I look here at this young lady, up here shows her skills. You can see that she has that symbol. So for her to play this evasion, necklace of evasion, it would only cost her 1 gold. Alright, so the cost of the card is 1 gold for her. So she can play it like this. And you'll look at the side here, and it shows there's a white thing, and that shows you where it gets put. You can see that different cards are placed in different spots. If I buy this arcane energy spell, it goes up here. If I buy this short bow, it goes over here. This is where weapons go. If I buy this leather helmet, it will go over here. And you can buy multiple things of each type. You can have up to 3 spells. You can have up to 3 items. You can have up to 3 weapons, 1 of each type. There's ranged, magic, and melee. And then you can have 3 different pieces of armor. You need helmet and shield and torso armor. Now, When you do these, you're going to run out of money, obviously. You're not going to be able to play all of them. So when you take a card, instead of playing it for what it is, you can turn that card upside down and tuck it up here under your skills. And this is the one small design flaw of the game, because it's not always easy to tuck cards in. You can see now that I have, for my skills here on this character, I have 2 shields and I have this. So you can get more skills. It doesn't cost you money to put a card into your skills. This is just basically training. And in fact, it gives you gold depending on what round you're in. In round 1, you'll get 1 gold, and in round 2, 2 gold, and round 3, 3 gold, whenever you do that. So once everyone is done drafting and you get your weapons and items and spells and such, you are then going to fight a monster. So let's say I'm going to fight this skeletal warrior here. So I look at this skeletal warrior and I look at his stats. He has 3 hit points. Up here he takes half damage from ranged attacks. Each monster is a specific type. There's a certain amount of experience points and gold that you will get. And there's a special ability here which I'll talk about in a second. It doesn't matter at this point in time. So let's say I'm going to fight this monster. So I decide to fight him, and he takes half against ranged weapons, and oh my goodness, I have a ranged weapon. Well, no good. But fortunately, I was smart enough early in the round to draft not just a ranged weapon, but I got myself a melee weapon, this short sword here. So since he takes half against ranged, I'm going to use the melee. Now you'll notice that the melee does 1 damage, and it does 1 more damage if I have that sword skill icon underneath me as something that I've trained for. So I look back over here and I say, hey, look, I have trained in swords. Hopefully. So when I attack with the sword here, I will do 2 damage. I also have the ability over here to turn this card, and since Wizard of the Coast isn't going to sue me, I'm just going to say tap. So I can tap this to do 1 magical damage, and I can also, if I want to, change my ranged or my melee damage into magical damage. So I decide to do that. I hit him with 2 swords, and I tap this, which means I can't use it again for the rest of this round, for 3 damage, which kills him. Killing him means I'm going to take him, I'm going to turn him upside down and stick him here underneath my board to show that I've killed 1 of these skeletal type creatures. I will take the 1 experience. The 2 gold is split between me and those next to me. I take 1 gold, then the person on my left gets a gold, then the person on my right gets a gold, then I get a gold. So in this instance, I would get 1 gold and the person on my left would get 1. If it had been 6 gold, it would have been divvied up differently. Okay, so that's basically how you fight. Now, if I had not defeated him, then he would have attacked me. And I would look and see, hey, he does 2 ranged damage. So I say, okay, I'm about to take 2 damage. So I look down here at my helmet. My helmet reduces 1 range damage, so I'm down to 1. I can tap it to reduce 1 arcane damage. I don't have that he's doing range damage. So I look over here at this brooch, this evasion I got, and I can tap it to reduce 2 more range damage. So I might decide to tap it. Let's say I don't decide to tap it. So I take 1 damage, and I simply marked it over here. Now I only have 2 hit points at this point in time, so that's pretty dangerous to do. So I might want to be careful about doing that in the future. Any damage that I've done to him, I would leave on there, and then it goes on to the next player's turn, and they fight a monster. Now, when you defeat a monster, a couple things happen. I've mentioned you get experience and gold points, but you also might get one of these tokens in the middle. If you ever defeat a monster and you have the only monster of that type, or you have as many as anyone else, you'll take this token here, which is worth 1 victory point at the end of the game, and you also get a victory point token every time you take that. So that will be passed around. But there's also other tokens out here. Let's say I'm the first person to kill 2 wolf creatures. Then I take the top token of this pile, which is 6 points. The next person to kill 2 wolf creatures gets 4 points, and then 3, and it goes down depending. So you can see killing 2 dragon creatures gives 8. Killing 1 creature of each type can give me 9. Killing 3 of the same type, doesn't matter what type it is, gives me 8. So these are other ways to get victory points. If you are dead in a round, you will lose 1 of your skill cards that you've gotten, and you're basically out of that round, and everyone else keeps going until either everyone is dead in a round or until all the monsters are beaten. Once you beat a monster, you will look in the middle of the table where there will be a pile of the monsters that are still available, and it will be one face up. So you can take the face up one or the face down one. When you take a monster and it comes, for example, let's say I pull the Skeleton Warrior, that is when these other special abilities might happen. For example, this one says charge. That means when he first comes in to fight me, I'm going to take a damage. And there's all different abilities. Some heal, some are immune to different kinds of weaponry, etc., etc., and they certainly get harder as the game progresses. On your turn, you can also, if there is another player without a monster in front of him, and you can pass this to the first person on your right who has an open spot and get a new monster. So let's say there's a monster, let's say you're a magic user and the monster is immune to magic. Well, you'll certainly want to pass him off so that you don't have to deal with him. Once all this is done, you go to round 2, round 3. After round 3, you add up all the points based on where your experience marker is. Whoever has the most money gets some points, and the tiles that you've gotten, and then all these other points that you've accumulated by taking those tiles back and forth over the course of the game. Player with the most points is the winner. Alright, well, this one is quite easy. I love this game. So much fun. I played it once, had a great time. Played it again, had a great time. Played it again, had a good time. Just really kept enjoying it. And with varying amounts of players, lots of fun. With 5 players, it is a little longer than I'd want it to be. I think it's best at 4. But I love the drafting, and there's different ways. I like playing with different characters. If I play someone with magic, getting these spells that are one shot but are much more powerful than anything else people have is cool. While the melee, I can soak up a whole lot of damage, and hopefully that's enough to make me kill the monsters. Now, this game can have a disadvantage in that if you've never played this before and you play against people who have, you are going to get stomped. You make a mistake early on in the game and it can really not do so well as time goes by. I mean, it's difficult to recover from that, although I would argue that it is certainly not impossible to recover from early on mistakes. At the beginning of the game, it's best to look at the monster you're about to fight and say, how do I take care of that monster? You kill one monster, you're good. Expect to die in this game. It happens often. I think it will be rare if you survive a round, although it is certainly not impossible to do. All that being said, in my first game there was a very wide variety of points. I think it was like someone had 40, and then the next highest score was 12, and then 876. I'm like, wow, was the game unbalanced? But it is not, because as I've played this game more and more, I'm getting better at it, and my score, like I feel pretty confident now that if I play this game, it doesn't matter what, I'm going to do at least 20 some points in this game, because I can understand best how to put the cards. And learning how to use those cards, it's good that I like this. This is a drafting game that feels like there's some skill to it. That, oh, I want the card because it does this. So for people who like the simplicity, most drafting games are pretty simple. Fairy Tale and Seven Wonders, etc. They're easy. Grab the stuff, take the best one. Here, grab it, and you'll have a lot of good choices, and you might even, do your typical drafting. What does he need? I'll make sure I take that. But I also think it's neat that you can take the card as an item or take it as a skill. You need to take cards as skills, and what skills you want to take, because as the game progresses, the better weapons and armor and things, the more skills you have, they become ultra powerful. And in round 3, you get some pretty cool equipment. Of course, the monsters you face are, if you look at the dragon here in the front of this box, that's kind of like the monsters you face. There's no easy monsters in this game. They're all pretty mean and nasty. So, I love it. I really do. Super great game. Instant add to my collection. Had a tough time finding a game that would disappear for this one to fill the slot. But man, just a superb game. I love drafting, and this takes drafting and adds another level to it where you go fight the monsters. It's kind of funny because I played other games with this puzzly type combat. Dungeon Lord springs to mind. I wasn't a big fan of it there, but here it works. Here I get to make some cool decisions, and the drafting thing is just, it's great. Good game. Lost Legends.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door!